Hello everyone, welcome back to another Spanish lesson with Gringa Spanish. I am Christy, and today we are going to be going over the subjunctive. Again, this is part 3, but today will just be examples. So for the first lesson, I introduced you to the subjunctive, what it's used for. In our second lesson, I went over the different irregular rules for subjunctive verbs. And in this lesson, we will be going over examples. So don't worry if you've been confused up until this point. The subjunctive can be really hard to learn because it is so foreign to English. It doesn't exist in English. The subjunctive mood does not exist in English. So it's very normal to be confused up until this point. And I think what is really going to help you learn when to use it or when to expect it is examples. So don't worry, you know the rules now. Now you have the rules in the back of your mind. Now you know what it is. And now you're going to see it in context. And because you already know those rules, it's going to solidify it for you and help you understand it more. So we're going to be going over sentences, and I will explain to you why it's in the subjunctive. So I wanted to remind you, basically, in case you didn't see the other lessons, in which case you may be an advanced Spanish student, which is fine, the subjunctive is used to express doubt or desire. Trigger expressions can be very helpful. We'll cover you most of the time probably in when to expect the subjunctive or when to use the subjunctive. The subjunctive form is identical to the form used in negative to commands and usted commands, all positive and negative usted commands, and nosotros commands. So basically, your AR endings are going to become ER endings, and your ER-IR endings are going to become AR endings. And lastly, in the subjunctive form, the yo conjugation is identical to the el conjugation. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to say before we get started is remember from our first lesson, these phrases that always precede the subjunctive. Now, the subjunctive can be used without these phrases, but I think these are really helpful for you because they will cover you, especially as a beginner, when to expect it or when to use it probably a majority of the time. These phrases include quiero que, I want that, dudo que, I doubt that, ojalá que, hopefully, antes que, before, después que, after, para que, in order that, es posible que, it's possible that, te pido que, I ask you that, necesito que, I need that. Okay? Alright. So let's get into our examples. Oh, we're going over everything again. Okay. Example 1. Quiero que me abraces fuerte. Abraces comes from abrazar, which is an AR verb. Here it's in the subjunctive, so it becomes an ER-IR ending. So abraces. So quiero que means I want that. Now, if you're saying I want to do something, you use the infinitive form. But if you're saying I want you to do something or I want somebody else to do something, then you need to use the subjunctive form. And you say quiero que, and then you conjugate the second part of the sentence for the other person in the subjunctive form. So this sentence says I want you to hug me strong or with strength, or tight, like hold me tight. So quiero que, I want that, me abraces, you to hug me. Abrazar is the infinitive. Abraces means you hug. Me abraces means who is the verb happening to, me. So me abraces fuerte, you hold me tight, basically, or you hug me tight. So quiero que me abraces fuerte uses the subjunctive. Example 2. Quiero que tú limpies el baño. I want you to clean the bathroom. Quiero que, I want that. Limpies comes from limpiar, which is an AR verb. So here we switched it to an ES ending. Tú limpies. So that's limpiar in the subjunctive for tú, the present subjunctive. Tú limpies el baño is the bathroom. I want you to clean the restroom. Quiero que tú limpies el baño. 3. Quiero que él haga su tarea. I want him to do his homework. So, quiero que, I want that. Él haga, remember haga comes from hacer. This is irregular in the subjunctive form. So, él haga, remember, some subjunctive irregularities are related to the irregular form of the present tense yo. If that sounds super confusing, you need to watch part 2. So, because yo hago and hacer is an ER verb, all of the forms in the subjunctive for hacer maintain the HAG from the yo form of the present tense, and then they just take on AR endings. So yo haga, tú hagas, él haga, nosotros hagamos, okay? So, quiero que él haga su tarea. I want him to do his homework. 4. Quiero ir a la fiesta. This is a trick question. Here you're saying, I want to do something. Now remember, if you're saying, I want to do something, you can just use the infinitive the same as English. So, quiero ir a la fiesta. I want to go to the party. You don't need to use the subjunctive there. 5. Quiero besarte hasta que salga el sol. So this is also following the same pattern, but it's a little trickier because you're not saying I want somebody to do something. You're saying I want to do something. The part of this sentence that uses the subjunctive is the hasta que part. Hasta que means until. So quiero besarte hasta que salga el sol. I want to kiss you. Besar means to kiss. Besarte, te is the pronoun that tells you what the verb is happening to. Besarte, kiss you. I want to kiss you hasta que means until. Hasta que what? Salga el sol. Until the sun rises, until the sun comes out. Salir means to come out. You also use the same verb for the sun, when the sun rises or comes out. And hasta que is an expression that is followed by the subjunctive. So, quiero besarte hasta que salga el sol. I want to kiss you until the sun comes out. Hasta que salga el sol. Whatever comes after hasta que needs to be in the subjunctive. So, hasta que, antes que, después que. The best way to think of these and why they're in the subjunctive is because it's a hypothetical. So, salga el sol is, you're pretty certain that it's going to happen, right? But it hasn't happened yet. It's not casting doubt exactly in this case, but the best way to think of why the subjunctive is used here is because right now it's a hypothetical. It hasn't happened yet. So I hope that makes sense. I think you'll understand with more examples. So here we have, antes que comas nada, saluda a la dueña de la casa. So before you eat anything, greet the owner of the house. So antes que, this is a triggering expression and you need to follow it with the subjunctive. Antes que. So antes que comas nada, comer means to eat. So comas means you eat in the subjunctive. Before you eat anything, saluda a la dueña de la casa. Greet the owner of the house. Dueña means owner in the female form. Dueño also means owner. Saluda comes from saludar, which means to greet. Here it is a imperative, which means a command in the positive. You are telling somebody to do something. So when you are telling somebody to do something, that's the form of the verb. I have a video on that if you want to brush up on that. But what you need to know is the first part of the sentence, you're using the subjunctive here. And again, the best way to think of antes que and why it needs to be followed by the subjunctive is because it's a hypothetical at this point. Okay, 7. This is a dialogue. Rob says, ¿Dónde quieres comer? Where do you want to eat? Quieres comer means you want. Comer means to eat. ¿Dónde means where. Where do you want to eat? Isabella says, ¿Dónde quieras tú? So this is a super useful way to use the subjunctive. When somebody says, what do you want? And you say, I don't know, whatever you want. You say, lo que quieras tú. You use the subjunctive there because you're saying whatever you want. You don't know what they want. You're saying, I want to do whatever you might want to do. And because it's hypothetical and it's not certain, you use the subjunctive to say whatever you might want to do. So, donde quieras tú, wherever you want to eat. And it doesn't have to be where to eat. It can be in any other situation too. Whenever you're saying whatever you want to do, you say lo que quieras tú. I want to do whatever you want to do. Lo que yo quiero hacer, lo que tú quieras hacer. If that makes sense. Okay, so let's move on. 8. Hazme lo que quieras, pero deja que ella se vaya. So this is a hostage situation, it sounds like. Hazme lo que quieras. So hazme is the command, the to command form of hacer, and that's haz. So when you tell somebody to do something, you say haz esto, do this. Hazme, who is the verb happening to, that's the pronoun. Hazme, do to me lo que quieras, whatever you might want. If you were to use the regular form of querer here, if you were to say hazme lo que quieres with an es and not the subjunctive, it would sound like you already knew what they wanted to do to you, and you both knew it, so you're saying like, listen, I know what you want, just do it already. But when you say hazme lo que quieras, you're saying do whatever you might want to do to me. Yeah, you can use this verb. If it sounds like there's other situations you could say the same thing, you're probably right about that. But in this situation, it sounds like there's a hostage situation going on. So, hazme lo que quieras, do whatever you want to me, pero deja que ella se vaya, but let her go. So, deja que ella se vaya is also in the subjunctive. There's other ways that you could phrase this, but when you're saying dejar means allow something to happen. So, deja que, allow that, ella se vaya. Remember, vaya is the subjunctive form of ir because it's an irregular verb. We covered that in the subjunctive part 2. But this is the subjunctive form is used here because it's a hypothetical right here. And deja que is is not one of the official triggering expressions, but I would go ahead and say that I think anytime you're going to say deja que is going to be followed by the subjunctive. I think that's safe to say. Okay, so do whatever you want to me, but let her go. Hazme lo que quieras, pero deja que ella se vaya. 9. Antes que digas nada, quiero que sepas la verdad. So here we have another two-parter. Antes que is always followed by the subjunctive. So antes que digas nada, before you say anything. This is another useful expression that you can just take this expression and use it in other situations. Antes que digas nada, before you say anything. So digas comes from decir, which means to say. And remember, this is one of those verbs that's related to the yo form. When I say yo digo, that's an irregular yo form, digo, which is very different from the other forms. In the subjunctive form, this is one of those verbs that follows the irregular yo form. So it becomes yo diga, tú digas, él diga, nosotros digamos. Okay? So antes que digas nada, quiero que sepas la verdad. I want you to know the truth. So here again, you're using the subjunctive because you're not saying I want to know the truth. You're saying I want you to know the truth. So you say quiero que sepas la verdad. Sepas comes from saber. It's irregular. And in the subjunctive form, saber becomes sepa. Yo sepa, tú sepas, él sepa. Quiero que sepas la verdad. I want you to know the truth. Okay. 10. Te voy a dar esto para que puedas triunfar. I am going to give you this so that you can triumph. So here, te voy a dar esto. Dar means to give. Te voy a dar, I am going to give you. Esto means this. Para que. So para que is one of those triggering expressions for the subjunctive. Whatever comes next needs to be in the subjunctive. In order that, para que, in order that, puedas triunfar. puedas comes from poder. It's also one of those verbs that is related to the irregular yo form. So remember, poder becomes yo puedo in the yo form. So tú puedas in the subjunctive form. All of those forms sound like the yo form in the regular form. Para que puedas triunfar, so that you can triumph. And remember, when poder is often just followed by the infinitive. So triunfar, so that you can triumph, stays in the infinitive. Okay, guys, we're almost done for today. 11. No pongas tus zapatos allí. Don't put your shoes there. So this is a negative tu command. This is, when I say negative tu command, I'm saying you can speak to somebody in the informal or the formal, right? Tu means informal. You can also speak to somebody in the usted, which has different rules for commands, which I have other videos on this, but I just want to touch on it again so that if you did watch those videos, I can remind you, and if you didn't, then you can get a little introduction to the idea. So, no pongas tus zapatos allí. This is a negative tu command because you're using the informal form and you're telling somebody not to do something, which makes it a negative command. No pongas tus zapatos allí. Don't put your shoes there. So, negative tu commands, you use the subjunctive form. Now, if you're taking a Spanish class, this isn't considered the subjunctive form. You would say this is the negative imperative form, but what I want you to know for learning to speak Spanish with me is it is identical. When you need a negative tu command, you are going to use the subjunctive for the verb, okay? 12. Por favor, señor, tráigame el cheque. So this is a formal command. This is an usted command. For usted command, so it said por favor, señor. This means please, sir. So you can tell that this is a polite sentence. When you're speaking to the usted, the negative and positive commands both use the same subjunctive form. So, por favor, señor, tráigame el cheque. Traiga comes from traer. And in the subjunctive, it is one of those verbs related to the yo form. This happens so much. This is why examples are important. Traigo is the yo form of the regular version. So in the subjunctive, it becomes traiga, traigas, traiga. Okay? So, tráigame. Me is the pronoun telling you who the verb is happening to. So he's saying, bring me the check. That's he wants the waiter to bring him the check. So that's what the me means. Bring the check to me. Because the me gets added on to the end of the verb here, that's why the a gets an accent. We did go over this rule in usted command in that video. Tráigame el cheque. But what I want you to remember right here is usted commands use the subjunctive, okay? 13. Por favor, señor, no me traiga el cheque. This is a negative usted command, the exact same sentence, but he's saying, don't bring me the check. Por favor, señor, please, sir, no me traiga el cheque. Don't bring me the check. Negative usted commands, use the subjunctive. All right, we're almost done, guys. This is the last page. Don't panic. I know it's a lot, but I want you guys to see a good range of examples today. And then maybe I'll make another examples video. You guys can let me know if you want even more examples, but I wanted to make sure if there's only one video, you get a good range of examples. Okay, we're almost done. 14. Ojalá que todo vaya bien. Ojalá means hopefully. So, ojalá que, you say ojalá que, and then whatever you hope that, you say it in the subjunctive form. Ojalá que todo vaya bien. I hope that everything goes well. And everything goes, so it's the same as in English. You say, I hope everything goes well. It's kind of abstract, but it's the same verb in English. You use ir to go to say that. So, ir in the subjunctive becomes vaya. So, ojalá que todo vaya bien. I hope everything goes well. 15. Sea lo que sea. This phrase is a common phrase in Spanish, and it uses sea, which is the subjunctive form of ser, which means to be. So this phrase, sea lo que sea, means it is what it is or whatever the case is. You can use it by itself. If you're just saying whatever is, then you can just say sea lo que sea. But you can also use it to preface something else that you're saying. So if somebody's like giving you excuses and you're saying, whatever the case is, I want you to do this, you can say, sea lo que sea, I want you to do this. Okay. 16. No me parece que ella practique mucho. It doesn't appear to me that she practices a lot. Parecer means to appear that. So no me parece means it doesn't seem to me. Parecer means to seem. I think that's a better way to put it. No me parece. It doesn't seem to me que ella practique mucho. That she practices a lot. And so the part of the sentence that needs to be in the subjunctive is the thing that you are doubting. So practique comes from practicar. This is very easy. Instead of an AR, it becomes an ER ending. Practique instead of practica. No me parece que ella practique mucho. Alright, last one. No me importa que piensen de mí. No me importa means it doesn't matter to me. Importar means to matter. So if you say no me importa, you're saying this doesn't matter to me. It is the thing that matters, so it is doing the verb. So that's why it becomes conjugated in the third person. Me is the pronoun saying that the verb is happening to you. It is not mattering to you. So no me importa que, it doesn't matter to me that, or that. No me importa que piensen de mí. It doesn't matter what they think about me. So, pensar, instead of saying piensan, which would be the normal version, you're using piensen, which is the subjunctive version. No me importa que piensen de mí. It doesn't matter what they think about me. And you're using the subjunctive here because it's hypothetical. It doesn't matter what they think about you. You don't care what they think about you. It could be anything. They could be thinking good things. They could be thinking bad things. You don't know. So this is a good example of why we use the subjunctive in a sense when things are hypothetical and not for certain. Okay, guys, I know that was a lot of examples, and I know that that video took... Look, we only did 17 examples, and this video is 22 minutes, so... if you see example videos with only 10 examples, just know why. Sentences with explanations can take a long time. So, I hope that was helpful. If you are finding these Spanish classes helpful, please do like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. Comment them below. If you have any recommendations or requests for different videos that you would like, please put them in the comments. I hope you guys are learning well. If you're confused, don't panic. The subjunctive is very confusing to English speakers. So, keep practicing. I can do another video with subjunctive examples. If you watch the lyric videos, you'll see that the subjunctive comes up a lot in songs. So that's another way to increase your exposure to the subjunctive. It really is used a lot in Spanish, so it's important to know when to use it and to know what it is. Because if you don't know what it is, you're going to be like, what's this verb? Like, what is this verb? So it is very, very important for you to know. So good job, everybody. If you made it to the end, pat yourself on the back. You did a great job, and I'll see you guys next time.